systems running more. With skills that test and minds that know, we make your motor's power grow. MotorDoc brings the spark to life in every gear and cog and drive. Electric dreams and circuits bright, we guide your way through day and night. When wires tangle.
Hello and welcome to our last vlog for 2025. I'm going to take the weekend between Christmas and New Year. We are swamped with work that we're trying to get ready for the upcoming time. So as you can see, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what's happened over the past year and where we're headed in 2025. And we're going to talk about a couple other things. First, I wanted to, because I often, these are coming in and out the door faster than we can shake a stick at. So we have the empath, which is the data collector, and we've spent a fair amount of time on that because, I use one a lot. It's the exact same software and everything else as the ECMS E1 and the... let's get this over here real quick. Let's do this. Okay, here we go. So this is the empath ECMS 32. And it is like an ECMS E1, which is a single channel system, except it takes in 32 pieces of equipment. So location 00 through 31 here. And then it also communicates through Ethernet via the back. And you can see not a lot of pretty lights and stuff like that on our black boxes. I know that people, must like the pretty lights that go on and off. There is a set of lights there for each of the communication ports so you know that they're operating. But really, that's about it. So with these, they take data about once an hour. You can go and schedule it however you want. It won't necessarily, you can set it up also so it does not take data when equipment isn't running. And of course, all the data stays locally or in the cloud or whatever else. Our gateway computers, even the 0.5 terabyte ones, can handle 1,000 full sets of data from each channel. So 32,000 sets of data stored on the gateway PC and lots more elsewhere. So really, really powerful tool. We've installed a lot of these in the last little bit. Everything works just the way, we have, just the way as they all do. I've got one of these shipping tomorrow along with an ECMS E1, which is these, slightly different size, like this here. So you can see a little smaller. It's got an E-plug built in. They have an E-plug built in, and that means that I can get my voltage here and my current goes in here. Current here, voltage here, up to 1,000 volts phase to phase. Most of the time on medium and high voltage systems, we're connecting up to relay, or if we're doing, the ECMS E1 has been very, very popular for energy monitoring, believe it or not, because of the tremendous amount of information it brings in. Not only does it look at a few other things, but it also keeps track of some conditions such as loose connections. Now that E-plug I mentioned, it's an E-plug kit, means it's got lots of plastic pass-through things for the for cabinets and so on. But what's inside that is this, which includes a voltage divider. There we go. About 2.5 by 2.5 by with the clips about 3/4, maybe close to an inch, and then your Ethernet cable goes in there. It's basically a voltage divider, and then takes the current directly. The ECMS E1 or the ECMS 32 then convert that over to data that can be transmitted. In the case of these, they're transmitted through Ethernet, either to a wireless transmitter of some type. For instance, a lot of our applications that we're monitoring would be on, say, put you together later, would be on, say, a cell modem, that kind of thing. So that's the E1. We've got a bunch of those to ship, and these back here, as you can see, those are the Empower systems, the new data collector we developed this year. Once we found something that would suffice, single phase of current. There is a second channel on the data collectors we have. Basically, they're signal conditioners, and that'll take in an ICP type vibration input that you can use with anybody else's. We don't do a vibration software. There's plenty out there that work with the ICP type signal, which means they all basically come in as sound, which gives us a very high potential resolution. So for what we're doing with ESA, while I could take in 48 kilohertz, we take in 44.1 in a certain depth because we found that gives us a better accuracy within a 2-minute test. So our accuracy for the empath is 0.005 hertz, and the accuracy for the Empower is 0.009 hertz. In both cases, that gives us out to a 100th of an RPM accuracy. So when you're comparing to, say, vibration, which might have bins of like 40, 60, whatever, or be presenting in lines. We don't present in lines for resolution. We do is presented in frequency for resolution. So what hertz are you accurate to? And in both cases, the empath goes out to 6 kilohertz, and the Empower goes out to now 22 kilohertz, because we're looking at high order current harmonics, and that's part of a study that we're working on. So it'll go out to the 367th harmonic, whereas IEEE 519 calls for the 50th. Now that's in the low end of the supra harmonics, which can go from 2 kilohertz to 150 kilohertz. So we go out to 22 kilohertz. For most industrial systems, that's good. If I'm doing grid type work, that's not quite good enough. So this was developed this last year. If you're watching this prior to December 31st, if you get an order in right away, we're selling these at $49.95 with a 200 amp current clamp that comes with it and the software. After December 31st, it goes for its normal price of $99.95 or $9,995. And our distributors and reps will start having those available. We've started putting some together. We have now also one rep in Japan who covers portions of Asia. We've got some building up here. We've got some coming up in the Middle East and other places. We are doing the tests on this. We're going to have version 1.1 finished, being tested right after Christmas. So anything that ships at the end of this upcoming week, the USB that comes with it will have it. Everybody else can just download the upload. So we have we have those capabilities. This is a purely MotorDoc system. The other one's a partnership with Framatome, and this one here, the hardware is through a third party. So phenomenal system. Let's see. Yeah, this is basically, this might be an AEMC or a Fluke, depending on what we have in stock. And this is what I was talking about with the Supra harmonics. So that's that. That was some of our technology stuff. Our research side has been just 2024 was groundbreaking for us in a lot of research, from the work we're doing in wind power on the issues we're running into with circulating currents up tower and the sub-synchronous harmonic conditions. We've advanced that further. My work has gotten us to the point where I was asked to participate in SEGRE. So I'm now on that, and I've also been asked to serve in some other positions. There are aspects of what I'm doing that are involved in the political side of power generation and cybersecurity, and those areas have moved forward at just a huge leap in 2024, luckily, as data centers and everything else are just going to really overwhelm us a little bit. Let's see. Research projects that we completed also included the translation of vibration data to energy to put it in alignment with what we see in electrical signature analysis when we're able to see the kilowatt stuff, and those calculators are available. You can find those at MotorDoc.ai and MotorDocAI.io, I'm sorry. And the other things. So that's the calculator should be that's something slightly different. So we had a lot going on. Here's the vibration calculator here. This is in power. You notice the logo here. This is our MotorDoc AI logo. We're doing any of our development AI work, things like that, and we've got some really exciting stuff coming out. I'm playing with some of those previews. You're going to see them in during this, and I'm breaking it up into sections so I can show you some of it. We're going to do some stuff promoting, reliability and maintenance in the workforce. We're going to be doing some other things on some industrial training. We have had access and do have access to some tools that are a little more advanced than the general public or others within our industry can access on generative AI and some entertainment stuff, because we're going to have some fun in 2025 doing some of this and showing what's possible. For those who have been following also, you'll see that we've had some AI-generated music. The team at MotorDoc AI has we're putting together certain themes. There's a purpose behind all of this. It'll become very clear before summer of 2025. But the idea is things promoting our industry. So, excuse me. The first part is pushing things related to things that we're directly involved in, or the people that we're partnered or associated with or involved a lot with. You'll also see more articles coming out. We're working on a second edition of the electrical signature analysis book. While everybody else is trying to figure out our stuff from that book, we've already taken the research way past that. Including both in our machine learning capabilities online and so on. So we have cloud dashboards and everything else had them available now for 2 years. We've just made another leap, in particular in our time to failure estimation capabilities. All of that is there. We've had people reach out and ask us if we can help them with that same thing. And I'm sorry, I've got technology and I'm emphasizing that. And we have a lot of our partners in place already for their technologies. Still reach out. For those who are watching this and have reached out to me in the past, I don't share anything about what we talk about. But I want to see the industry move forward. But we've been doing a lot of investment that other people aren't. And the reason we're able to do that is we are not investor owned unless you consider that I'm the investor. So that means that I'm not stuck being directed by an organization of investors telling me what I can and cannot do. The reason I'm in business for myself is because I really did not enjoy working for large companies where, I saw directions that I thought we should go and they didn't agree with it. So 2024 shed the last of some of that from the past, and 2025 we're blazing forward. And let's take a break, and then we'll cover some of what we're going to do. Welcome to part 2, and so real quick before we start into what we got coming up in 2025, why is all this Sasquatch stuff there? Well, it started out a couple of years ago as a bit of a amusing joke. We were traveling up to do some work in 2023 in upstate New York, and I had to go through the Adirondacks, and just saw a lot of Sasquatch stuff, and I was joking about it with some folks with the Onyx harmonic stuff, and or Onyx Energy, I should say. And I said, yeah, I keep seeing Sasquatch, stuff referring to Sasquatch, and I just haven't seen Sasquatch because it's just like people telling me about their phenomenal reliability or phenomenal maintenance programs when I go, and then I go to the job sites and we can't find it. So that's been kind of a running joke, is everybody says they have the biggest and greatest and all this other stuff, but it just seems to be as elusive as Sasquatch when you go to see what you're being told about. So in any case, this upcoming year, we've made some changes in how we're doing things. We're watching a lot of people kind of jumping into the conferences we've traditionally been in. And part of the reason why, and I learned this many, many years back when I used to run, when I was the general manager for Alltest back in the early 2000s, was these companies would show up, and then I would do the technical presentation because apparently I know what I'm talking about, and then they would try to jump on and say, oh yeah, well, how Howard described that, well, here's our stuff. So they're going to find themselves, they're going to have access to those folks. And I will say that we go to the conferences. I've been slimming down the conferences. So we're going to be attending the ones that actually generate work, or where we have people that really want to learn what we talk about, that are end users that are going to use the technology. The other guys can learn from what we publish and what we put in standards because they're not there. So we'll just say I've seen some stuff float around and people are making a business out of stuff that MotorDoc has specifically worked on, and one organization, after I spent weeks and weeks developing something, and other people participated, and then in the end, that organization decided they didn't want to pursue it, and handed it to one of my competitors and said, "Oh, go have fun with it." So that was the last time we're doing anything remotely like that. So if you're wondering why nobody's actually actively working on the development of certification programs, it was because I was leading it, and other people walked away with my work. I did want participation, but I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to be that guy who in the lab class ends up doing all the work and everybody gets the A. So that ended this year. So I have instead focused on things like Seagray and stuff like that, and other organizations and the places that develop those standards. And that means that, when they put that stuff together, they're going to have to work off my work again. But at least I can point to the acknowledgement sections and say, I see me, I don't see you. Just did that in an expert witness case. It was awesome. So in any case, let's see, what else? A lot of stuff with things like Vibration Institute. I'm re-engaging again with CBM Connect a little bit more. Just put out an article with them just a little bit ago. Got involved with another group of there's a group of us that kind of hung out since the very beginning, like early 2000s, maybe late 1990s for some, but definitely early 2000s, for what's called Reliable Magazine, or Relia Mag. If you get the newsletter, you'll see the lists of whatever I write. I try to do about a weekly article. They're all new. I don't reuse stuff, so they're new. Some might be shorter if I'm limited on time. You can tell when I'm really busy. Lots of spelling errors. But they do a great job of getting stuff up quickly. You'll see some more stuff in CBM Connect, and I have other things that I'm working on, including, like I said, the new book, some partnerships with some other publishers, and a few other things. And yeah, we're really busy. For those who follow, I travel quite a bit. That's not slowing down. It's just I don't entertain myself in bars and stuff like that when I travel. I sit and I write, or I'm down trying to lose some of this. So not particularly exciting when I travel, other than I try to take what we learn, what we know, and share best practices for end users. To if you see something that solves one of your problems, then writing that article was worth it. We this year partnered up with quite a few OEMs, equipment OEMs, across a number of industries, where we're providing more support for them. And I do say we as a we. I know that most people go, well, where is your crew and stuff like that. We'll just say camera shy. We got a combination of things going on. Everything from special heavy-duty AI assistants. It's what I tell people. I've had people suggest that I don't believe in AI or something like that, or machine learning, because I tend to be very my statements are true, meaning that you can't sit there and just believe what you see. You can't just pick it up and run with it and so on. I mean, I literally had an organization that we talked to, and I had some suggestions for them, and and gave them some recommendations on who to go to. But basically, they had a CMMS system, and they were missing data, and a lot of the data was junk. So a service company came in, one of these AI companies came in and basically filled in the blanks and corrected things with AI, and then used their AI system on the data that they generated with AI to help the company make business decisions. And it wasn't going particularly well. And yeah, I'll just let you envision that. So there was a lot of that going on in 2024. And I'm going to return in the next section. Okay, so let's relax a bit, have a direct conversation. So, yeah, 2024 has been an interesting year. We've seen a transition starting with 2020 when a lot of people left the industry, and we're seeing a lot of people come in, and we're now having almost daily conversations about reliving the things that we had to learn back in the day, because, you know, this year in some of the IEEE standards groups and in the AIST thing we went to, it used to be all, you know, even just a couple of years ago, all gray hair, all gray beards, right? There. And this year we've seen a tremendous, dramatic change, meaning that a lot of younger people, and not just in the traditional stuff we've been involved in. We're seeing, I want to be very careful because I know that diversity has become an interesting word, but we're seeing a very diverse group of people. We're seeing more women entering into the trades that are normally dominated by men. We're seeing a lot of other people coming in of different types of backgrounds, different everything. And, you know, it's generating that relearning period as that older group leaves, and the new group comes in. And, you know, I've heard some negative stuff about it and so on. And really, it isn't. It's the exact same thing we all went through in the 1980s and 90s as all the new stuff started hitting. Well, we've got all new stuff yet again. Plus, we have these engines that we get to work with, known as machine learning, which, you know, I think I saw something today about how OpenAI has now decided, because the marketing hype has calmed down a little bit, now they're going to say, now we have AGI. Well, then the actual real AI that we used to talk about in the prior to 2017, this new AI, which is machine learning, still, sorry, it doesn't have a conscience yet. It doesn't think for itself. We utilize generative AI and other AI tools and predictive AI tools now, and I guarantee it doesn't have a personality unless you kind of project one onto it. When you know who's been involved in the development, you can pick out the biases immediately. So all it is just complex algorithms dealing with a tremendous amount of data and trained machine learning models that we're dealing with, even the LLMs. So when you see them come out and they talk about, we've now developed AGI, and really what it is so they can sell more shares or increase their share cost because they've seen something drift, or they have more competition on board and they want to be presented as the leaders. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, those groups tend to be the ones that are a little more forward with how they're managing their data and everything else. Which that leads me into something else, and I believe I had a rather emphatic discussion last week, and that is a lot of these quote unquote AI tools that are coming out in our industry. One of the things we noted, and it was growing right after 2020, because people were sitting at home in 2020 and they had nothing to do. So why not pick up a laptop and, design something that you know nothing about and then produce it as a new tool? So electrical signature and current signature analysis was seen as a big opportunity. And, my work comes off the shoulders of giants. And apparently, other people are working off of different things. You'll tend to find that our work tends towards the expert systems. We want to know what the data means, how we classify the data, so that when we do the machine learning stuff, AI stuff, we actually know exactly what the data means. What we're seeing from elsewhere is they just throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks. That's one group. The other group has no clue what's going on, so they hire people and they've got squiggly line charts that they compare in order to come up with their conclusions and stuff like that. There are a few that are pretty good, and of course I'm not going to mention names here. And then of course the traditional expert systems, which are doing quite well. We're seeing them there. I am proud to say that yet again this week we had some of our technology going in to replace one of those with ours, just because we've been pretty steady as far as people and knowledge and everything else, and continue to advance the software. Just every time we figure out something, we figure out a way to incorporate it into the system, so that the Empath and the Empower software, it doesn't just sit there and say, here's a thing going on in this in power quality somewhere, or in the air gap of the machine, or rotor bar, which if people are going, that's their whole thing, and they're selling you an instrument that's more than $100, then run. And so on and so on and so on. We have noticed as well, some organizations have been aggressively pushing back, especially they'll usually get some, and it's kind of funny because the authors are usually people with the AI-based, say, vibration systems that I generally just outright make fun of, but in a mean-spirited way, because they're damaging the industry that I'm part of, and I don't appreciate it, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people in our industry that don't as well. So 2024 seemed to be really accelerating. I think that we're one of a couple of things is going to happen this upcoming year in 2025. First thing is, end users are going to figure out that some of these things are outright BS. I know that some of the large corporations we're going into right now, where they've invested a ton of money into this stuff, and we go in there and we find a sensor in the middle of a motor, and they're claiming that they're measuring accurately the bearings, and we're watching the motors blowing up left and right for bearings, and we're detecting it easily with ESA, when we should be actually challenged with it, but it's just so blatant at but being missed. And so the legitimate vibration companies are out there going, hey, wait a minute, this stuff actually works. You just have to apply it correctly. And then the end user comes back and says, but you're too expensive. And they go, well, that's because we have to put the right number of sensors on your equipment, not one transducer in the middle of a fin hanging off the side of a motor. If you want to know what I'm talking about, look at my last presentation. I was just livid when I went to that site and we saw everything, and we could hear the bearings going bad. But nobody was acting on it because they were convinced by this large company, vibration company, that, if our stuff isn't detecting it, it must be fine. And when they do detect stuff, we're being reported back, 80 and 90% false positives. I mean, I believe in false positives. You need, if you want to make sure you're catching something, it's better to lean towards false positives. But that should be a fraction of the time, not, 900%. I mean, not out of 10 times, 9 of them are false positives. That's ridiculous. You can't, you absolutely, if you tell me that that's happening and you're saving money, you're lying. You're outright, I'm not going to say, oh, you're fooling yourself. No, you're lying, because I guarantee your costs have gone up. False positives mean that you're mobilizing people to go out and work on things that don't need to be worked on. That's not the purpose of condition-based maintenance, but it seems to be the trend right now. And I really don't give I'm going to get myself fired up again. I could give a damn what, these guys, if they're coming up to you and saying, that Howard guy, he's wrong. This is good stuff. Yeah. They're lying. And I'll say that blatantly, flat out. That's it. Sorry, no guesses. I'm out in the field seeing it. I've got plenty of data to support it. Who knows? There might even be a paper coming up. We will be submitting to do a few additional things as far as research projects this upcoming year and so on. So with that, I'm going to finish up with our Happy New Year. So very interesting 2024. Not just from the general public thing and all the things that people are weirding out over, but on our end, on the technical and utility and everything else that we're involved in. Very, very interesting year. I refer to it as a transition year. We're going to see a lot of chaos in 2025 if you're watching news. But I have a feeling we're going to see a transition going on. I'm predicting there's going to be an AI bubble burst before 2030 as people start realizing they're not really seeing what they're supposed to see. And I always put that back to if the marketing folks that are writing all the articles and the CEOs of the companies that are developing this stuff and labeling it as AI, once people start seeing past that into what it's really capable of, which is a really, really powerful tool. But companies that are eliminating people or replacing people with AI and everything else are going to find out that they're going to enjoy the direction that happened with Industry 4.0, in which they let people go and had to bring them back because the tools that they were being sold a story on don't meet that. And to be perfectly blunt, it still makes no sense to me why sales and marketing folks have to outright bullshit people to get them to do stuff. I'm honestly starting to feel like our industry has turned into, I feel bad about suggesting turning into used car salesmen, because that seems to be derogatory towards used car salespeople. And just a fraction above lawyers. Oh, maybe not even that. But in any case, yep, I'm sure I've insulted a few people, so I've accomplished that goal. So I'll be right back. So this is our last part. What are my predictions for 2025? Well, for MotorDoc, I'm hoping that our sales continue to grow. I'm hoping that I'm adding more people. We've got a handful now. I need more field people. That's going to be an organic growth. I am not accepting ever. I'm not accepting investors. I'm planning on being here. all the way up until I decide to get out of the industry, in which they'll be pulling me out the door feet first. What I do see for everything else, I see stress levels will still be high. You see it on the road. You see it everywhere else because people are fixated on news. Most of which, if you walk away from it for 3 days, I tell people if they're stressing out, what are you watching? One of the news channels? Yeah. Turn it off for 3 days. You know, if you need to watch TV, watch something else. Don't watch any of the national stuff for a few days. It's not going anywhere. And then see how you feel at the end of 3 days. You know, eliminate some social media. I'm projecting that we will see a change in how social media is viewed 2025 on forward. And then that's about it. On the social end, you know, I'm not really that involved in that side. So from a utility side, I see some interesting things happening. I definitely see that we're talking about things now that we did not talk about a few years ago. And that has to do with, you know, odd power quality issues and so on are now being addressed and solutions are being developed. We're going to be involved in certain development on our own based upon the information we're learning before everybody else. That's part of the reason we volunteer on stuff. I see still, you know, a lot of people are apprehensive about what's going to happen with electrification of everything and wind, solar, and energy storage. I see those are moving ahead still. They're not going to set back. I don't care what you heard on which news station or the panic from certain people. There's going to be some flux as things change, but I'm expecting that to continue moving forward. I'm expecting there to be more maintenance and reliability work as people realize that they need to maintain their equipment longer. There's going to be a transition period with things as we watch directions flop around. Somebody asked me what I thought from a political standpoint, and I said basically we've gone to an extreme, and now it's going to go to the opposite extreme. It's not a first time this has happened. You know, when you get to over 50, you've seen it 2 or 3 times already. So it's going to go heavily the other direction, and at some point in the future, it'll self-correct. We will see more international trade because communications are going to get even better. There'll always be negatives there. We're going to see more intrusions into privacy. We're going to see a heightened problem with cybersecurity, primarily driven by the new machine learning tools. The warnings are already out. My daily CISO data coming in is projecting some pretty horrific things coming down the line. You know, even hell, Microsoft is eliminating passwords, right? So there's all of that stuff going on. Now, what I see for industry is I see industry improving. I see right now we just watched a couple of majors, couple of companies that we really relied on as the people that were blazing the trail for reliability and maintenance have basically eliminated huge swaths of reliability and maintenance people. Basically, the MBAs must have gotten their hands on things, and they'll realize. So we're going to see an influx of reliability and maintenance people that are available. Grab them if you see certain people out of certain areas. One company, Cargill, we're seeing a lot of people flooding back into the market. Grab them. That company was so far ahead of everybody else as to be ridiculous. So I see they're not going to see a negative impact on that decision for a couple of years. So, we're going to see more people coming into the industry and everything else in 2025. We are projecting an increase in our remote monitoring stuff and some of the things that we're headed down where we're actually using customer equipment to gather data to do analytics. As we do that, some of it's custom, but we have some that are very specific that we are in the process of scaling so that the Empath and the Empower and stuff like that become tools for places where we can't get data of the type we need. That's pretty much it. Other than that, I'm expecting everything else to be business as normal. We still haven't pulled away far enough from 2020 to see normalcy yet. And for people who are wondering, we saw this all occur in 1920 as well, except that they didn't shut the world down. And things were a little bit different. So that headed into the Roaring 20s, in which everybody went insane for a little bit, and it kind of broke the country. And that's when they went into the Depression. So hopefully nothing more serious, and global communication helps us prevent more of what we've seen in the last few years. Personally, I'm a U.S.-based company, and I'm a veteran, so tend to support customers from friendly countries and not others. Last but not least, travel. I expect to still be enjoying a fair amount of travel, except I'm trying to transition us towards being more of an instrument company. So we carry the Empath. We're partnered with that. We participate in the manufacture and the development of the tool. The Empower system is our lower cost solution basically, and it's you're not giving up a tremendous amount, and that's our goal is ESA to the masses, folks, MCSA to the masses. Start taking up the thing. If you're seeing problems with the vibration program you have because of how it's set up, well, there will be a continuous monitoring version of that by summer, if not sooner. We've got a couple other specific industries we're working on that we promised first. For those that are following me that do wind stuff, you will see the Empower. We have a wind version of the Empower. So basically, you can walk in and one current clamp tell what's going on up tower. We figured out how to do that. For those where the data has to be collected up tower, we're working on a portable version of the software and everything else, so you can put it up tower, allow it to do its thing, and you're going to know right then on the spot the condition of the Y ring, the stator slots, the gearbox and bearings, all the way through the main bearings all at once. That's what we did with the Empower. It's been extremely accurate. We've got people pulling motors even today based upon our findings, and every time we've nailed it. So our success rate on the Empower is almost exactly what we have on the Empath, which is, really, really getting close to 100%. We're definitely over 90%. Used to say, how accurate is it? 85%. Well, now I'm saying greater than 90%. So we're going to be continuing forward with that. Research projects there. Another research project we kicked off includes the translation from decibel data from ESA and MCSA over to vibration data and vice versa, so that we can do a direct comparison. If I say that you have this dB down, we can say that's equivalent to, so many inches per second or millimeters per second. So with that, we will end here. I've gone on a little bit. Merry Christmas. I'm going to put our Christmas song at the very end of this, and Happy New Year. And we will see you come January.
Jingle bells, no more the grind. Electric cheer lights up the mind. Motors buzzing through the night. Power up our Christmas bright. Santa sleighs in turbo mode. High voltage on a candy road. Stockings hung by copper wire. Reliable joy, we won't tire. Have a very reliable Christmas with industrial electric MotorDoc. Gizmos humming merry tunes underneath the neon moons. Gizmos humming merry tunes underneath the neon moons. Gears and gadgets all aligned. Sparkling lights in perfect time. Circuit joy, sheer delight. Technicolor, festive night. Blenders blending Christmas pies. Toasters roasting sweet surprise. Gifts with sturdy warranties. Peace of mind beneath the trees. Have a very reliable Christmas with industrial electric MotorDoc. Gizmos humming merry tunes underneath the neon moons. Gizmos humming merry tunes underneath the neon moon.